Welcome to Long Story Short. Today we are traveling to the suffocating, cramped apartments of 1940s Brooklyn to dissect Arthur Miller's absolute masterpiece of modern tragedy, Death of a Salesman. Imagine you have worked incredibly hard your entire life believing that if you are just well-liked and charismatic, you will inevitably become staggeringly wealthy. But you wake up at age 63, completely broke, entirely exhausted, and realizing your entire life was built on a massive lie. On the surface, this is a story about a failing traveling salesman. But just beneath the sample cases and the mortgage payments lies a devastating autopsy of the American dream. The toxic weight of parental expectations and the terrifying reality of becoming completely obsolete. We are going to break down exactly why Willy Loman completely loses his mind and why this 1949 play is the ultimate critique of capitalism. Long story short, Death of a Salesman is not a play about business. It is a brilliant, terrifying study of massive denial. It shows us that wrapping your entire identity in financial success will completely destroy your soul. First, let us establish the massive psychological collapse happening inside the Loman house. Willy Loman is an aging traveling salesman who can no longer safely drive his car. He is constantly hallucinating, entirely blurring the lines between the present day and his deeply idealized memories of the past. His loyal wife, Linda, desperately tries to protect him, but she knows he has been secretly trying to commit suicide by inhaling gas from the water heater. Willie is completely obsessed with his oldest son, Biff. In high school, Biff was a massive football star, and Willie genuinely believed Biff was destined for absolute greatness. But Biff is now 34 years old, completely unemployed, and entirely broken. Willie's younger son, Happy, is a deeply shallow womanizer who constantly lies to gain his father's approval. The inciting incident happens when Biff finally returns home to Brooklyn. His arrival triggers a massive psychological crisis for Willie. Willie aggressively demands that Biff go to a former employer named Bill Oliver to ask for a massive business loan. Biff knows Bill Oliver does not even remember him, but he agrees just to stop his father from completely losing his mind. If Miller's deeply emotional, theatrical prose feels overwhelming, and you want to truly understand the absolute failure of the American dream of the text, you can get the full audiobook entirely for free by starting an Audible trial with my link in the description below. Listening to the original text is the absolute best way to grasp the heartbreaking, tragic collapse of Willy Loman. For now, let us look at the absolute destruction of the illusion. The next day is an absolute disaster for the entire family. Willie goes to his boss, Howard, to ask for a local job in New York so he no longer has to drive. Instead of helping him, Howard completely fires Willie. Willie has dedicated 34 years to this company, and they throw him away like absolute garbage because he can no longer generate profit. Meanwhile, Biff completely fails to get the loan from Bill Oliver. Out of pure, massive frustration, Biff steals Oliver's expensive fountain pen and runs away. Willie meets Biff and Happy at a restaurant for dinner. Willie is completely hallucinating, again, reliving the exact massive traumatic moment from 15 years ago that entirely destroyed his relationship with Biff. Back in high school, Biff failed math and drove to Boston to ask Willie for help. But when Biff arrived at Willie's hotel room, he discovered his father was having a massive secret affair with another woman. That singular moment completely shattered Biff's idolization of his father. Biff gave up on his dreams entirely, realizing Willie was an absolute phony. Back in the present day at the restaurant, Biff tries to tell Willie the truth about the failed loan. But Willie completely refuses to listen to reality. Happy and Biff abandon their hallucinating father in the restaurant to go completely get drunk with two women. When they finally return home later that night, the massive climax explodes. Biff completely confronts Willie. He throws a rubber hose on the table, exposing Willie's suicide attempts. Biff screams that their entire family has never told the truth for 10 minutes in their entire lives. Biff drops to his knees weeping and begs Willy to completely let him go and accept that they are both just ordinary failing men. Willy is completely stunned. But instead of accepting the truth, Willy completely misinterprets Biff's tears. Willy believes Biff is crying because Biff actually deeply loves him and still wants to be successful. Willy realizes his life insurance policy is worth $20,000. He decides the only way to finally make Biff rich is to completely sacrifice himself. Willy drives his car completely into the darkness and intentionally crashes, killing himself instantly. At Willy's funeral, the final massive tragic irony is revealed. Willy believed hundreds of salesmen would attend his funeral, but absolutely nobody shows up except his family. Linda cries over his grave, completely failing to understand why he did it because she had just made the final payment on their house that very day. To guarantee an A on your final essay, you need to master 3 foundational symbols from this text. First, the rubber hose. The hose connects to the gas heater and represents Willy's massive desperation to escape reality. It proves that the literal appliances of the American dream he worked so hard to buy are actually the exact tools destroying him. Second, the seeds. Willy desperately tries to plant seeds in his dark, cramped backyard. They represent his massive desire to leave a legacy behind and actually grow something tangible, because his entire career as a salesman resulted in absolutely nothing permanent. Third, the character foil of Bernard. Bernard is the nerdy neighbor who Willy completely mocked in high school for not being charismatic. But Bernard grows up to become a massively successful lawyer arguing in front of the Supreme Court. Miller uses Bernard to prove that hard work and intellect completely destroy Willy's toxic belief that popularity is the only key to success. The ultimate takeaway for your finals. Death of a Salesman proves that the capitalist system completely consumes human beings and spits them out. It teaches us that chasing a massive, unrealistic financial illusion will completely blind you to the actual love of your family. If you have a paper or a test coming up, watching a summary gets you the plot, but reading Miller's actual prose is where you master the material. You can grab the physical copy on Amazon or get the audiobook completely for free with an Audible trial using the links in the description below. That is the long story short. Please like and subscribe for more literature breakdowns. See you in the next one.